I'm Ellen Witt, and I work here at Vejle Kommune. I have my office in here at the City Hall, the new City Hall, in the department of HR. I'm an HR consultant and work with team building, leadership training, coaching, innovation projects. And also I have been working with this book of the sustainable goals to back or into daily life solutions out in the different working places, the different institutions here in the commune. And it's actually a project that that's coming from up to down from the directors in the commune. But what they wanted is to hear the daily life solution they get, the use, well, the employed out on the institutions. And we actually got really a lot of nice ideas right from not using plastic boots on when you get into an institution, not to make the floor dirty. And I mean, there's no reason people could just take their shoes off when they go inside, for example, at the daycare institutions. And there could be a project about how people work in for example, the water, getting different water resources where we get water from, the drinking water, that they actually work together. Or it could be robots cutting the lawns on the what's called the fields for soccer, for example. Instead of having those long drives with a tractor, it could be much more sustainable having a robot lawn mower there that actually can do the work. Yeah, so that's some of what I've been working with when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. And me and two other colleagues, we have been out interviewing different people on the institutions, and it's been both leaders, but actually a lot also the employees, their thoughts about how can we actually do this in a small scale and some of it in a big scale. And when we talk about this book, we went out interviewing. Some of the stories got in here. One we are actually a little sad that didn't get into it is a very interesting project about women coming from other countries, refugees, and how they actually can get integrated in the Danish community. And one of the things or issues is economy. So there's actually been those courses for women in how they can manage their economy, because it can be difficult if you always have been used to that it's maybe your husband taking care of that part. And I think that's a really interesting one. The other thing, if we talk about the differences in sex, we actually talk about that there's also a problem. Now we talk about women and their possibilities, but actually in a country like Denmark, we also have a problem in the young indvandrerbørn, what's called the young guys that have come as maybe refugees or their parents came here to work, and actually they have quite a lot of difficulties in getting integrated in the community, because they get the way they are treated from their parents, the thoughts about being a man is actually different from their country. So they have difficulties in being in the school and difficulties in getting into getting a work in a way that actually suits our community. How is Denmark and the culture here? So one of the projects there is also starting right at the bottom, is making connections, for example, in the soccer teams, that they don't play just the people that has come into Denmark and the Danes, but they actually mix them so they can learn from each other. think that's actually an important, because otherwise they can end up being violent and doing a lot of stuff that is not, for communities, not really reasonable, and it's not productive. If we talk about sustainability here in Vejle Kommune, and thinking about, okay, what can we do in the future? The book here should actually help that out on the working places at the institutions, that they actually can do their small steps. And then of course there's also a bigger political way of thinking of, okay, how can we think sustainability? I mean, we have an issue with water here because the city is low. But how can we actually work on solutions for that in a bigger aspect? So there's the political, and then there's this right out in the institutions. How can they take the small steps to get more sustainable? And one of the things I think is really interesting, we have this nice nurse. He's actually from France original, and got married to a Danish woman, and now he's working as this nurse in the elderly care. And his project is, how can they, when they're working, visiting the elders out, how can they minimize, for example, the use of plastic? How can they affect those that deliver different kinds of medicine, that it's actually getting more sustainable? And how can they do so that the employees, they actually get better in sorting out the waste from those visits? I mean, there's plastic, there's metal, and there's the gloves, nitrile gloves, that they actually use really a lot of. So I think that's some interesting projects that's working out in the future now. And I think one of his really big, he really hopes to make a movie is when we buying products from those that are delivering the products. And just talked with some of my colleagues here in HR too, that we can't change it all, but we can ask for more sustainable, it's not called grocery, but the different products we use in our different institutions. So we, in that way, actually slowly can change the production out of the companies from the private sector. At the HR department, we are actually also doing our own little having our own little project in being sustainable at work. So we have this gymnastics that we are trying to do at least twice a week. It's just elastic and doing movements for our shoulders, because some of us are sitting quite a lot at the computer. And this being, I would call, sustainable at the working place is actually a theme that we are going to work really hard into now, because some of those the institutions we have can be hard, for example, psychological, if they work with a lot of people that maybe get very angry, or if it's just a lot of hard work. So how can we actually get people to be able to work their whole life and be able not only surviving, but actually having a good working life? And of course there's also the physical, the physics that they should be able to have a good life and good physical life and stay at work. So again, how can we be sure that we actually take care that people don't get rheumatism in their joints, and what other causes can be caused by hard physical work? So that's a thing we are working quite closely into right now, and going to use the spring for that, helping the different working places in how can they help themselves.